We're excited for you today to hear from our very special guest who is famously known for his integrity, his specializing in not only podcasts, but now analytics and information about AI. Hot topic. Can't wait to hear what you think. I want to give this man an introduction because he has inspired so many of us for so many reasons. After a career in corporate, wanted to do something new and something different and dive in. And his simple statement, I wrote this down, his goal was simple: to find excitement in what he was doing every day. And he found it in droves. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm under the spotlight welcome to the founder of Red Hat Media, Larry Roberts. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. I'm a very professional guest this morning. I had myself muted. So we're
Wait a
off
minute.
to a
How long
good
have you been
start.
doing podcasts? Seriously, have you been doing podcasts since 2015, 14, somewhere
14
around there?
was, I started in 2014.
That's crazy. I mean, and so many people listening to podcasts now, many breaking their own business, as have we done. I've told our folks a little bit earlier that we met you through Alex, a mutual friend, and then we hired you to do our edit, our podcast edit. And man, you are thorough and you dive deep into what we're doing and how to make it better. I want to thank you for that introduction to this world of podcasting.
Well, thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and that's one of the reasons that I go so deep when I work with someone on their show to kind of figure out exactly where we need to go to help them accomplish their particular goals. So I think it stems from my analytical background. You kind of touched on that a little bit in the introduction there, but the details are in the data. So you have to go in, you have to dig deep, and you have to find that data to find the answers that we're looking for.
What is that where you were in corporate world analytics?
Yeah, when I left corporate America, I was what was the title? Business intelligence analyst. So I literally just spent my days looking at data and understanding the databases that drove the company. And people would come to me, they were looking for certain segments of data. Where can I find this data? And I would point them to the appropriate location there in the system.
How did you take all those skills and see the podcast world and dive in there? What was it that you launched with? Was it teaching people how to dig for information or something else?
No, it kind of in a little twist of irony there. It was actually my first podcast was a comedy podcast. So, so I actually stumbled into analytics. I didn't mean to. My corporate career really started as a facilitator. I was a corporate trainer for this tiny company called Texas Instruments. We've probably all had at least one of their calculators at some point in time. So I was a corporate trainer there, but it was in a small town in North Texas called Sherman. And my goal in life at the time was to make it down to the big city and live in Dallas. So I wanted to leave TI there and get me a nice spot down in Dallas. And of course, when you're in your 20s, you want to have the downtown apartment and all that fun stuff. And that was the goal. But I picked up a position in a small town outside of Dallas called Coppell at a little distribution center. They needed a corporate trainer. And I went in there, spent about a year and a half implementing some policies and procedures for their warehouse. And then they started this massive IT project where they were implementing what's called an ERP, or an enterprise resource planning system. And basically they have facilities all across the globe and everybody had their own system. Well, this is the one system to rule them all. And the project was to implement this system across the globe. And they needed somebody to lead up the training efforts there. And so they recruited me into that position.
You take all of that, and what I want our audience to think about as you glean tips and inspiration from our guest, this brilliant man has followed really what his gifts are and his powerhouse, right? His superpower, analytics. And now you've taken this to the podcast world. You've had multiple podcasts. You're an award winner, multiple awards, and now you're speaking. We saw you on ABC, you've been on stage, we've seen you multiple times, and I watched that Red Hat travel
Yeah.
throughout the United States. Are you speaking on still podcasting and analytics of that, or are you now moving completely into AI, or a little mix of both?
It's definitely a mix of both. I have three primary keynotes that I talk about. It's AI, branding, and podcasting. So typically if I'm on a stage, it's one of those three topics that I'm talking about.
That's cool. How in the world did you come up with Red Hat Media and the red hat? It's the name and it's what you wear. Like I want to come up with something like that. Like under the spotlight, what am I going to do? What kind of hat would I have on? I love that you've done this. It's like the finest branding. We recognize it. We recognize the hat. We recognize what you do. It's really powerful. Do you have any tips for everyone watching right now, listening in, how to find their brand? Do you mind giving away a little free advice this morning?
Not at all. I think the thing is, it has to be something that resonates with you. You can't force it. And I had to learn that lesson the hard way. Again, we started podcasting in 2014, and I went through a variety of podcasts, went through a variety of brands, and was just looking for that one thing that stuck. And I was giving a talk. It's only been 2 years now. I was giving a talk, actually not even 2 years. It was November of 21. And I was wearing a red hat, but it was a red hat with a brand on it. And it was the Supreme is the name of the brand. And it's what all those wacky kids are wearing these days, or at least they were then. And being at the time, I think I was 49. So I was trying to relate to a little bit of a younger audience. So I had this branded hat on my head. And our mutual friend, Alex and Filippo, who owns Podmatch, I have to give him a plug, obviously. I came off stage, and he and I, we give each other a hard time whenever we speak. It's just in fun.
That's
It's what we
nice.
do. Yeah. So we give each other, just kind of poke and prod at each other a bit. And he goes, "Hey man, but seriously, why are you wearing that Supreme hat?" And I told him it was because I was trying to relate to the audience. And he goes, "Look, I love the red hat. It stands out. I mean, I'm 6'3" ish. About 240 pounds. So I'm a big guy. I'm loud." And he goes, "That hat on your head, that red hat is like a beacon
Oh my
in the
God.
night. It's like a lighthouse, right?" So I love that. But unless Supreme is going to sponsor you and pay you to wear their merchandise, don't wear their stuff on stage.
I
So
love that.
yes, it resonated with me 100%. So I ran home from that conference. I tossed that very expensive. It's like $130 for this stupid
Oh
hat.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Their stuff is way overpriced. But I mean, that's what it is with all name brands, right?
Stop.
But
Yes, of course. But now you have your own, and we all
well,
want a red hat. So we're buying your hat now.
well, I jumped on Amazon. I found me an unbranded red flat billed
Oh
hat
my
for
God.
$6 whole. I ordered that. It got here. I tilted it at about 15 degrees to the right, and the red hat was born. And
Woo!
and that's really how it happened. But the whole point and the reason that it stuck for me personally is because this is how I dress anyhow. This is what I wear anyways. I'm not trying to put on a persona that I'm going to call my brand. I wear ball caps. I wear flat bill ball caps, and I still think I'm 17, so I tilt it a little bit to the side. It's how I dress. It's naturally
Beautiful.
me, and that authenticity is what translates from this red hat.
Oh my
If
God.
I was trying to force it and trying to be something that I wasn't, it's
Right.
not going to work. And people are going to
Right.
pick up on the fact that it's not you. So I'm
Okay.
super comfortable in the red hat. I'm super comfortable dressing the way that I dress. And it doesn't matter whether I'm on entrepreneurs organization, a high dollar stage, or whether I'm speaking at the local Rotary. Doesn't matter. I'm still wearing what I wear with my
That's
jeans and
beautiful.
my tennis shoes and my red hat. And that's me. And that
Oh
authenticity
my
is
God.
that's what made the brand what it is just it
You
allowed me to be me.
You are just so transparent. That right there is a huge inspiration for all of us trying to do anything, whatever you're trying to do. I have a question. Can our audience come to you for help with their branding in what realm? Just for podcasts, or can you help with branding outside of that? What's
No, 100%. I mean, my podcast
yeah,
now is called Branded. It's all about personal and professional branding. So anything that has to do with branding. And as you know, my book is on its way out. It's called Under the Red Hat: How to Stand Out in a Very Crowded Marketplace. And it's all about branding in all different forms, regardless of what it is. I can
I
definitely
love
help you in
that
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 regard.
it's in book form because we will be able to go back and review it, and it's coming out. When is it coming out? When's the book coming out?
I don't have a specific release date, but I'm shooting for October 18th because I am on stage in Tampa and I want the book in hand when I get to Tampa. So we're working very, very hard to make sure that I have that book in hand when I get there in Tampa here in, what is it, 2 weeks?
Oh my
So
God.
it's going to be very soon.
Can you believe that all this has happened now from my perspective and for us looking in and seeing like you've always been, well known and respected, and you have integrity and you've helped us. In fact, Peter wanted to say thank you for turning him on to the Chat GPT AI, which he used to build your description for this podcast you're on.
Awesome.
You have
Love
any of
it.
that?
I love to
Right,
hear
Peter?
it.
But you are all of a sudden it's explosive on stage, on television. All right, how are you handling that? It's a lot of travel. How's your wife
Whew.
handling that? Are you enjoying it? You having fun?
I'm definitely having fun, but it's also definitely an adjustment. Because if we think back to my corporate career, I was with the same company for 21 out of my 25 corporate years. And out of that time, my wife and I, we worked together for 20 years.
Oh,
So on the same floor, we would commute together. We would eat lunch together. We would commute home together. Of course, we lived together. So we were literally together 24/7. Now, a lot of people go, oh my gosh, that's way too much husband wife time. But it's all we knew. And it worked really, really well for us. So when I left corporate back January 4th of 2021, that in and of itself was an adjustment because now I'm not at the office. I mean, for 20 years, she could literally stand up and look across the floor and see my office. So now she stands up and, I am loud too. So she can also hear me from time to time. So now the top floor of the office is dead quiet. And if she
aw.
looks over to my office, it's empty, or there's some other stranger in there. I'm sure by now it's been 2 years, so I'm sure somebody's in there. But at first it was empty. So it was very, very difficult to make that adjustment. And then I started traveling. So now not only am I not with you at the office, now you come home and now I'm not here either.
Mhm.
And while it wasn't just an adjustment for her, it was a massive adjustment for me as well, because again, after all that time, we have patterns. We all develop patterns. And
Of course.
if I'm gone for a week or 2 weeks at a time traveling, I come home. Well, she may have found her own little routine. Her and the dogs, they're watching their favorite shows, and I haven't been there to get in the way or walk in front of the TV or
Oh my
bother the
God.
dog or bother her. None of that's happening. So she's kind of gotten used to it. And I would feel like when I got home, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just a problem. I'm just causing
Oh
problems
my
here because
gosh. You
I'm
better
in the
bring a good gift.
way. And I tell you, it was a struggle at first, but we got over it. Everything's good now.
That's
Uh,
wonderful.
but I'll tell you, my traveling wraps at the end of this month. So I happen to be home this week, then I'm gone for the rest of the month. But I'm super, super excited about the fact that November and December right now have 0 trips planned. So I'm pretty excited about
Wow.
that.
What's your goal with all that you're doing? And then I want to move into the AI piece. People are waiting to hear from
Sure.
you. What's you've written a book, it's coming out, things are happening. Or do you have in your mind where you want this to go, or is it moving sort of kinetically unfolding as
It's a little bit of both. It's definitely kinetically unfolding and it's evolving each and every day because every talk seems to lead to another talk. And right now, I'm extremely blessed in the fact that I'm not looking for talks. The talks are literally coming to me. So, but I have a hard time saying no also. So I'm like, sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do that. So I'm having to kind of reevaluate things and go, you know what? I'm going to have to develop a no muscle. I'm going to have to develop
Mhm.
where I get used to saying no from time to time. So the end goal, I mean, speaking is my passion.
Ah, okay.
If we really dial it back
Yeah.
into the mid '90s, I was a karate guy, and I know Peter, he owns a karate school, and that's amazing. And competing and fighting was life for me. But it's so interesting because I think back to the days before I climbed in the ring or even climbed in the cage when the MMA stuff started happening. Uh, when I speak now, it's the same level of anticipation. It's
Ah,
those same nerves. It feels the exact same way right before I get on stage as it was right before I got in the ring. And then after I deliver that talk, it's just like getting my hand raised at the end of a fight. So I get that same sense of fulfillment from competing as I do
oh.
with speaking, and I don't have to get punched in the face. So it's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Your podcast, the name of your podcast. Tell me the name of your
Yeah.
podcast.
The name of my podcast is Branded. Super
Okay,
simple.
so it's branded. So we're going to go and listen to branded. Are you seeing obviously more and more people listening to podcasts? Do you have any that you personally like to listen to that are on your top 3 list?
Oh, wow, you called me on the carpet with this one. I'm a
Then
huge
you don't
fan.
have to answer that. Well,
No,
obviously this one.
no, I do. I love Under the Spotlight and I love Branded. Those are 2 amazing podcasts that we have to promote today. But in all seriousness, I listen to more business type podcasts and a couple of comedy podcasts as well. But
Yes.
it's kind of
Okay.
interesting because I don't really listen to podcasts. I watch podcasts. I
I do
consume all
too.
my podcasts on YouTube.
See?
And
Oh, yeah,
occasionally I'll, depending on the guest, I'll drop in and I might give Joe Rogan a little listen here and there, but it really depends on the guest. I can only take so much Rogan. But, but I listen to like Gary Vee and Alex Ramosi and Tim Ferriss. I listen to those types of influencers and business builders to give me insight on how I need to continue to move on and how I need to connect with my audience and how I can create
right.
content that resonates. So it's those types of podcasts that I typically listen to.
Thank you. I
And then if
appreciate
I'm
that.
just goofing off, I do love comedy podcasts from time to time. Since my first podcast was a comedy
That's great.
podcast, there's a few comedians out there where I listen to their shows as well.
So this new topic, new to many of us, not new to you, is AI,
Sure.
artificial intelligence. It's a hot topic, and I'm sure you get some heat from people who say, there's no place for it in my life. Oh, no. So I want to start there because our audience is kind and generous and loving, and they have questions, and we'll be taking some questions. But my producer found these quotes for me. I want to read this to you because I wonder, is this hands off to AI, kind of like these statements? Steve Ballmer, former CEO of Microsoft, 2007, quote, there's no chance that an iPhone is going to get any significant market share. No chance. Is AI like Robert Metcalfe, founder of 3Com and inventor of Ethernet, 1995. I predict the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and in 1996 catastrophically collapse. Like, I bet they wish they could take those comments back. There are a whole mess of them. So are we viewing AI in that way? Like, yep, hands off and then realize, oh, I can use it. So I want to hand this off to you, an expert in this field. How can the everyday person use it? How can we stay safe? What do we need to stay away from? And I will tell you, as I toss this to you, we use ChatGPT all the time to make our words more beautiful, more embellished, more clear. It's been a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love those quotes because I firmly believe that this is the internet 3.0. I mean, this is the internet again, all over again. This is a revolution. It's going nowhere. It's something that we're all going to have to interact with on some level. And, you know, in all honesty, odds are we already have interacted with it to a certain degree. If you've ever contacted customer service or you've gone online to a customer service portal of some sort and you've chatted with someone, there's a really good chance that the person, quote unquote, you're chatting with is a bot. And they've gotten so good now that it's almost seamless. You wouldn't even know that you're talking to a bot, in all honesty. You asked a bunch of questions there, Carmela, so I'm going to try to consolidate my answer here. But again, AI, it's going nowhere. It's here to stay. It's literally in everything that we're doing right now. You'll see all of the websites that are out there now powered with AI or now powered with ChatGPT. And they continue to evolve and they continue to add additional value on a variety of different levels for everything that we're doing in our lives every day. So will we continue to see it evolve? Sure. Are there dangers? Most definitely. I'll be making another appearance on ABC in the morning here in Texas, talking about how we protect our kids from AI. And there are so many different things that we need to take into consideration when we look at this AI revolution. And it's primarily making sure that when we develop these AI applications and these big companies that are racing to provide us with these AI integrations, that we do it responsibly and we do it ethically. There's definitely some concern out there, and there's some confusion too. So let me break this down. What we're using right now primarily when you talk about ChatGPT or some of the other tools that are out there like Claude or Bing now has ChatGPT integrated in there, Midjourney for creating images, and Dolly, it's another application that creates images based on text input. These are all examples of generative AI, meaning it's generating a response of some sort, whether it's generating a text response or generating a graphical response. It's generating things based on our input. Okay. The scary stuff is called AGI, or artificial general intelligence. That's what we start looking at, deep neural networks. And these are networks that start to learn on their own with no human intervention. So we turn those on and we leave them to their own devices. Now, that gets scary Because we've all seen probably we've seen Terminator or some sci-fi movie where the AI, even HAL, if we go back to what was that, A Space Odyssey 2001,
Right.
the AI goes kind of haywire and starts to take over and find some reason to eliminate humanity. Is that a genuine concern? For me personally, it is a bit of a genuine concern. Uh,
Okay.
not It's not something I sit and worry about at night, but
Right.
is it something that today could realistically potentially happen without the proper safeguards in place? I believe it could. But what we're doing with AI now and how we see AI integrated into our websites and our devices and everything that we have, that's not something to be overly concerned about. It's extremely productive, extremely constructive, but it could also still be used for nefarious purposes if we're not careful.
As anything can be, right?
Sure, sure.
It happens everywhere. So, any tips on safe places to go? You giving any recommendations? You don't have to, but you've helped us find our favorite Chat GPT as an example. And then, if you have any recommendations like that, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think right now, especially over the last even week, ChatGPT has evolved tremendously. ChatGPT now has the ability to see, hear, and speak to us. So it's streamlining that process. Now, to take advantage of this functionality, you have to use ChatGPT on your mobile device, whether it's Android or iOS. It's available on both. And they're still actually rolling that out. But now we're able to, it's something as so crazy as be able to take a picture on our phone and upload it to ChatGPT and say, tell me about this. And it can break down what's in the image. You can use it for troubleshooting. If your car's misfiring or something, take a picture of the engine or take a picture of a wire that's loose and have ChatGPT tell you what the solution is. I saw an
Wow.
example just yesterday where someone had taken a picture of a parking sign, and it had all these multiple signs on here of when you can park and when you can't park and when there's exceptions to parking and the times you can park. And they're like, I'm not even from America. I have no idea what this means. So they took a picture of it, fed it to ChatGPT, and said, it's 4 p.m. Can I park here? And ChatGPT is now able to analyze each one of those individual signs in that single picture and go, yes, it's safe to park here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I need that one. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
it's
See, you're very open and you have eyes to see all the good in something and the caution. I'm so excited to have you as a guest today so people can feel a little more relaxed because I've already seen comments from people when I was promoting that you were here. The AI, it's not good for us. They're not understanding the application, like computers, like
sure.
phones, like other technologies. That's another piece of technology, and we as humans get to use it the way that we feel best for us, that's safe and all of that. I see it in writing an email, type out what we want in this email or flyer in our business, and then run it through Chat GPT, and it comes back concise and clear and way
Yeah.
more understandable than what we would have written in the first place. That's one small arena. So I imagine not only big businesses, but men and women who work from home have their own business. Maybe you own your own company. I mean, there's a place for it without being so scared. So you don't reside in, and I trust you don't reside in the fear side of things. You see the opportunity and how can we apply it to make our lives better. I love that
I,
about
I see
you.
I see tremendous opportunity. Now, I still approach it with a certain level of caution, but I try to counter that caution with doing my own research and finding out exactly what is in place here. And from a safety perspective, talking back to how it can analyze pictures, there are safeguards in place where it won't analyze humans. It will not analyze or give specific information back in regards to a human in a picture.
Got it.
So they are trying to develop these with certain safeguards in place, and they're trying to do it from a responsible perspective. But I saw some concerns over from Robin here in the chat. The fear of it comes from not trusting our leaders. And that's definitely something we need to consider as well. We always have to take into account the potential bias in these responses that we get from these tools, because we have
Mhm.
to understand that these tools are trained on massive amounts of text data. So it's scoured the internet. It's probably read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. I know I'm dating myself there, but that's a fun reference. So it's just been fed all of this data. And if it's been fed data, unintentionally with certain biases, of course, that bias may present itself in the results that it gives us as well. So we still have to be responsible users, regardless of the efforts of the developers to put in these safeguards. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, completely. You made that very clear, as though I just ran that through Chat GPT. Just kidding. Just
Well, here's
kidding.
the thing
No.
too. I see Fran asking about how do we protect our personal information, and that's a huge concern, and it's a question I get asked quite often. Typically speaking, all of these language models or the back end of all these AI tools use our input for training purposes, but ChatGPT specifically gives you the opportunity to opt out. So if you go into the settings of your account in ChatGPT, you can go into its settings. I believe it's data controls. And within there, there's a toggle switch where you can turn the switch on and off for ChatGPT to be able to use your information for training. So if you turn that off, they say that your data is safe. However, here's the caveat to that. Even if you turn that switch off, you're still operating under the original user agreement that you agreed to when you signed up for ChatGPT. So even though that's off, the original user agreement you agreed to says they can use your data for training purposes. So it almost feels like it's a warm and fuzzy hug going, oh, good, they can't use my information. But they do have a bit of a loophole there that they still may potentially be able to do it. But regardless, I highly recommend that you turn that switch off if you don't want your personal information being shared.
Great question, Fran, and thank you so much. How can we stay in touch with you, our viewers that are listening in? Maybe they want more information. Best place to follow you, Larry? Where should we go?
Best place to follow me is either LinkedIn or Facebook. Yeah, I'm 51, so I hang out with all the old folks on Facebook over there.
You're
So
51?
yeah, I'm 51.
Oh my gosh, we're around the same age. What are you laughing at?
No. I think it's great. No, I'm not laughing at it. No, don't take it that way. I wasn't laughing that we're almost the same age. Not at all.
I'm
I was
proud.
laughing because I typically say that it's the beer, it's the just for men, and it's the chiclets that I've got here. So that keeps me looking young. So
You just listen. You're so special to us. I'm sure you hear that from everyone that comes in contact with you. You're just very special. We appreciate your honesty, your integrity, your generosity, all the time you spent with us and so many other people. We love you. I'm just going to
thank
say
you
that.
so much.
We
Thank you so
really,
much.
we're excited to see the launch of the book and your career and watch you on television and follow you on Facebook and LinkedIn. Anything we can do for you before we go?
You already did. You had me on the show, and that's the most I can possibly ask for. So thank you so very much. And you had tremendously kind words to say as well. So I'm going to walk away from this on a high for the rest of the day. So
Wonderful.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry Roberts, founder of Red Hat Media. Thank you, my friend. I feel honored to call you that. If you'll stay on for a second, Peter wants to chat with you, and I'm going to sign off to our viewers. I want to thank our sponsor for providing for us to have Under the Spotlight here every week, every Wednesday, noon Eastern Time. Today, we're featuring the Happy Coffee. It literally gives you productive energy. Feeling like you're drinking your coffee and it gets you through the day and it doesn't work, sprinkle a little bit of the magic coffee in there. It's all natural, by the way, and you will feel that powerhouse that you really deserve to feel. You can connect with us. We're happy to send you the link, our sponsor's link, and you can do that through carmelasterling.com. Thanks for joining us today, for being here. This was super, super special and an honor. I couldn't wait to have Larry on the show today. So I'll see you next week.